I'm so happy Fate Kaleid airs today, because it counterbalances Love Stage. I mean, there's two sides to the same coin, Yuri and Yaoi, and we have both of those extremes airing today, both different types of anime, one that's Yuri, one that's Yaoi, and I'm glad that we have it because it really just helps out. So anyways, this episode of Fate Kaleid, it did not have as much action as last week's episode, but what it lacked in action, it made up for in fucking comedy in that Yuri. This episode was so funny. I was smiling and laughing majority of this entire episode because of the different awkward moments in this episode. I mean, seeing Illya have this Dark Illya, or her new name now is called Kuro, going around messing up her life, you know, intermingling with her brother and trying to kiss him and all sorts of stuff like that. Then you have the entire scene to where you have Kuro going around kissing all of Illya's friends, and in turn causes all of Illya's friends to think that she's a kissing demon. It's so funny. It was a really good episode, just the way they went to these extremes in this episode. For instance, seeing that entire scene with Kuro kissing that one girl, I think her name was Mime, or whatever her name was. You see her kissing her up against the wall, doing the exact same thing she did to Miyu, and I'm like, what? It was just so funny and hilarious, because the way they do the sounds and the smooching and all that, they just go over the top with the freaking Yuri in this series. And it kind of reminds me of Love Stage. It goes over the top with Yaoi, and this goes over the top with freaking Yuri. And it's funny, it really is. But with this episode, we find out the reason why Kuro is kissing people is because she's draining them of their magic, which makes perfect sense. I've actually seen this element before in other anime, so I feel like it was pretty obvious if you actually take a moment to think about it. But I was kind of blinded by the kissing and, you know, the Yuri. I was blinded by that. But this episode was funny. Nonetheless, it was great. The animation was on point. It really looked fluid, so I can't complain there. And seeing those awkward moments of this episode where Illya just smacks her freaking cheeks and all that to make Kuro get off her brother, just, oh, that was great. That was so great when you see Illya's, like, eyes watering up and all that with the animation. It was so cute and adorable. Oh, Illya, man, I love her. She's so cute, and she's so cool. Why? She's definitely a runner-up for probably the best lolly of the season. Now, I will say this, though. We do get a little bit of serious moments in this episode. Major things that go down and most likely will be very essential to the plot in the future. For instance, we find out that Miyu once had a brother, and Illya's brother, Shiro, reminds Miyu of her brother, and we find that out in this episode, which was really shocking, and it made me think back to the first season. I was thinking, like, oh yeah, we really don't know much that happened to Miyu's family. We don't know nothing about her, so technically, we still need to know more about Miyu's past, what got her to this moment to really become a magical girl, and why she really wanted to collect those cards in Season 1. And so it brings it back to the main serious tone and topic in this episode, which I am fine with. Fate Kaleid has really been nothing but a slice of life, different take on the Fate series, which majority of last season was. It had some action moments, yes, but it wasn't the best action we've seen from the Fate series. And so I feel like this series is really interesting how it manages to shift over into these dark tones, and it actually works. But overall, this episode was comedy. Even though it had those serious moments, it was comedy. We had a love triangle forming, or a love diamond forming between Illya's brother Shiro and her, and then you have Luvia and Rin. The love is, like, going up in the air in this episode. And so I feel like this episode had a lot to offer if you're a big fan of Yuri, and at the same time you're a big fan of the Fate series. And what was your favorite moment in this episode? If I had to say my personal favorite moment was the entire scene where Illya slaps herself and you see her eyes water up. That was my personal favorite from the episode. But there's other thing I do want to cover before I end this review. We find out that Rin makes like this pact, like this curse on Dark Illya or Kuro now, and makes it to where if the real Illya hurts herself, for instance, like let's say her arm got chopped off, okay? The pain of her arm would go over to Kuro and hurt her. Okay? It would actually travel over to her. So if Illya was to die, Kuro would die also, but it doesn't work, you know, vice versa. For instance, it's only a one-directional pain sensor. Kind of reminds me of the different scenes that have happened in JoJo last week. You remember that? So I'm kind of intrigued to find more about that, because, I mean, it's going to lead to Kuro having to defend Illya in the future, because if this curse stays on Illya for the course of the rest of the series, I mean, what happens if Illya gets in a major freaking predicament and, you know, she's about to die? Kuro is going to have to save Illya, because if Illya dies, she dies. So that's the big thing right there. And then the course of the end of this episode, we find out that Kuro is now going to be officially called Illya's cousin. And so that's really intriguing. It's definitely going to spice up the slice of life atmosphere of the series, especially with school life. And at the same time, I wonder exactly what, Illya's friends are going to do about her magical girl outfit, because it looks like the jig is up. Her friends now know about her outfit. Illya can possibly say that she was cosplaying, but I mean, it depends on how gullible her friends really are. But overall, I'm satisfied with this episode. It was enjoyable, and it was cute. I can't wait for next week to see the next episode. Hopefully, we'll get some more plot development, though. I want to see the actual story start to ramp up, but if it doesn't, I guess I'm fine. As long as if it keeps the comedy it's had for these last 3 episodes, I guess I'll be fine with that, too. So anyways, everybody, tell me your thoughts about this episode. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? What's your favorite moments about it? I love all of you so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.